Every window had eyes, and every night someone was watching. What you're about to hear is a real-life haunted house case that defied explanation. The Henderson family of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, thought they'd found their dream home in 2019, but within weeks of moving in, they realized they weren't alone. This is a deep dive into a real-life haunted house case where the family claimed they were being stalked by something inside their walls. Sarah Henderson, 34, a nurse from Cedar Rapids, moved into the Victorian-era home with her husband Mark and their 2 children. 8-year-old Emma and 6-year-old Tyler were excited about their new bedrooms. The house was built in 1897 and had been beautifully restored by the previous owners. Everything seemed perfect, the price was right, the neighborhood was safe, and the kids loved their new school. But perfection, as the Hendersons would learn, can be deceiving. It started 3 weeks after they moved in. Sarah was reading in the living room when she heard it, scratching, coming from inside the walls. At first she thought it might be mice or squirrels. Old houses have those problems, but the scratching wasn't random. It followed a pattern. 3 scratches, pause, 3 scratches, pause. And it seemed to move through the house, following the family from room to room. When 8-year-old Emma complained about someone walking in the walls during bedtime, Sarah began to worry. Mark was skeptical until he experienced it himself. The scratching woke him at 3:17 a.m., but this time it wasn't just scratching. There were footsteps, deliberate, measured footsteps inside the walls. The sounds would start in the basement, travel up through the first floor, and end in the children's rooms upstairs. After 2 months of sleepless nights, the Hendersons contacted Midwest Paranormal Investigations. Lead investigator Dr. Rebecca Martinez had dealt with over 200 cases in her 15-year career. But she'd never encountered anything quite like what the Hendersons described. The team installed motion sensors, thermal cameras, and audio recording devices throughout the house. They also discovered something the Hendersons didn't know about their dream home. The house had a history. In 1923, the original owner Thomas Whitmore disappeared without a trace. Police reports from 1923 described strange sounds coming from the walls in the weeks before Whitmore vanished. His wife told police she could hear him walking through the house at night, even when he was standing right beside her. The case was never solved. Thomas Whitmore was declared dead 7 years later. Dr. Martinez realized they weren't just dealing with a haunting, they were dealing with an unresolved mystery. The first night of investigation began at 9 p.m. The family stayed at Sarah's mother's house. At 11:43 p.m., the motion sensors in the basement triggered simultaneously. The thermal cameras captured something moving through the first floor, but there was no visible presence. Then, at exactly 3:17 a.m., the same time Mark had been woken up, the audio equipment captured something extraordinary. Clear, deliberate footsteps moving through the walls, but these weren't the sounds of settling wood or thermal expansion. The footsteps had weight, rhythm, and purpose. Someone, or something, was walking inside the walls. During their examination of the basement, the team made a chilling discovery. A network of passages ran between the walls connecting every room in the house. The passages were original to the house, built in 1897, but they'd been sealed off decades ago. Inside the passages, they found personal items belonging to Thomas Whitmore. But more disturbing were the recent additions. Fresh scratches on the wooden beams. And something else. Someone had been living in the walls, recently. The thermal imaging revealed a human-sized heat signature moving through the passages during the family's daily routines. Whoever was in there had been watching the family eat breakfast, do homework, and go about their daily lives. The most disturbing footage came from the children's bedrooms. The presence would stand in the walls for hours, just watching them sleep. DNA evidence collected from the passages was sent to the Iowa State Crime Lab. The results came back 3 weeks later. The DNA belonged to Marcus Webb, a 42-year-old drifter with a history of breaking and entering. Police surrounded the house on November 15, 2019. They knew Webb was inside the walls. It took 4 hours to find him. Webb had created an elaborate living space deep within the wall system. He'd been there for over 6 months, entering and leaving through a concealed basement entrance. Marcus Webb was arrested without incident. His confession revealed the full scope of his intrusion into the Henderson family's life. Webb admitted to watching the family's routines, learning their schedules, and even entering their living spaces while they slept. He'd been stealing small amounts of food, using their shower when they were away, and documenting their personal lives. His notes contained intimate details about the family's conversations, arguments, and private moments. The Hendersons' sense of safety and privacy had been completely shattered. Webb was charged with burglary, stalking, and criminal trespass. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison. During the trial, it was revealed that Webb had done this before in at least 3 other homes across the Midwest. The Henderson family moved out immediately after Webb's arrest. They couldn't bear to stay in the house. Sarah Henderson later said that even knowing the truth, she could never feel safe in that house again. The children required months of therapy to overcome the trauma of learning someone had been watching them sleep. The Victorian house remained empty for 2 years before finally selling at a significant loss. The new owners sealed all the secret passages permanently and installed a comprehensive security system. Security experts estimate that thousands of older homes across America have similar hidden spaces that could be exploited. Victorian and colonial-era homes are particularly vulnerable due to their complex construction and multiple renovations over time. Law enforcement agencies report a disturbing trend of wall stalkers, individuals who exploit architectural vulnerabilities to spy on families. Home security professionals now recommend thermal imaging inspections for older homes and regular checks of basement and attic access points. The Henderson case serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes the things that go bump in the night aren't supernatural at all. They're human, and they're watching. So the next time you hear something in your walls, remember the Hendersons, and check your basement. Every window had eyes, and every night someone was watching.